Right now, somewhere above your head, more than 10,000 active satellites and millions of pieces of debris are racing around Earth at speeds of nearly 28,000 kilometers per hour. At that speed, a single fleck of paint can punch through a steel hull. A bolt the size of your fingernail can destroy a satellite worth $500 million. And in 2025, the number of objects in orbit crossed a threshold that worries every serious space engineer on the planet. We are approaching the point where Earth's orbit becomes too dangerous to operate in, not in some distant future. Now, and the most disturbing part, once it tips over, there may be no coming back. We could permanently trap ourselves on the surface of our own planet. Everything you've been told about space, that it is vast, empty, and endless room for whatever humanity wants to put up there, is wrong. And the truth is far more terrifying, because the part of space we actually use, low Earth orbit, is small, crowded, and filling fast. And the laws of physics in that crowded orbit are unforgiving. Every collision creates more debris. More debris means more collisions. And at some point, the chain reaction becomes self-sustaining. Astronomer Donald Kessler predicted this scenario in 1978. He called it the Kessler Syndrome. In 2026, it has stopped being a hypothetical. And here's why this matters to you, right now, watching this. Because the satellites you don't think about every day are the invisible nervous system of modern civilization. GPS weather forecasts, global banking, air traffic, military intelligence, climate monitoring, disaster response, television, the internet. All of it depends on satellites. Lose access to orbit, and a huge portion of the global economy collapses. And lose it in the worst way, through Kessler Syndrome, and you may not get it back for decades. Possibly centuries, possibly never, in any reasonable human timescale. Here's what they taught you about space in school. Space is big. Astronauts go up there. There are some satellites. The Hubble telescope. Maybe the International Space Station. End of lesson. Move on. Memorize the diagram. It's a tidy story, and it ignores almost everything that actually matters about how humanity uses space today. Because the orbital environment around Earth is not just a stage where dramatic missions happen. It is critical infrastructure. Low Earth orbit, from about 200 to 2,000 kilometers above the surface, is where most active satellites live, including the International Space Station, communication satellites, Earth observation satellites, and the increasingly massive constellations like Starlink and OneWeb. Higher orbits, especially geostationary orbit at 36,000 kilometers, are home to weather and telecommunications satellites. These regions are precious. They are limited, and they are increasingly congested. The rule of orbital physics they want you to believe is this. Space is so large that collisions are unlikely. Even with thousands of satellites, the chance of two of them hitting each other in a given year is small. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Move on. That rule has been technically true and increasingly meaningless for the last 20 years. Detective work begins here. In 1978, NASA scientist Donald Kessler co-authored a paper proposing a disturbing scenario. As the number of objects in orbit grows, the probability of collisions between them grows too. Each collision produces hundreds or thousands of new debris fragments. Each fragment, traveling at orbital speeds, becomes a potential weapon capable of destroying other satellites. As more collisions happen, more debris is produced. More debris means more collisions. The process feeds on itself. If the density of objects in a given orbit exceeds a critical threshold, the cascade becomes self-sustaining. Debris keeps multiplying even without new launches. Eventually, certain orbital regions become so cluttered with high-speed debris that they are unusable. Any spacecraft entering them gets shredded. Any satellite operating in them gets destroyed. The orbit is effectively closed for business. Permanently. This is the Kessler Syndrome, named after the man who first formally described it. And for decades, it has been treated as a hypothetical concern, a problem for the future, something to worry about later. In the 2020s, later became now, because two events showed the world that the Kessler scenario was not theoretical. It was already happening, just slowly. In 2007, China conducted an anti-satellite missile test, destroying one of its own defunct satellites. The collision produced thousands of pieces of debris that have continued to threaten satellites and the International Space Station ever since. In 2009, An active Iridium communications satellite collided with a defunct Russian satellite over Siberia. The collision created over 2,000 trackable pieces of debris. Many of those pieces are still in orbit today, still threatening other spacecraft. Each of those events permanently increased the level of debris in critical orbital regions. Neither has been recovered. Neither can be undone. The debris is still up there, still circling, still dangerous. And the question every space engineer started asking, the one that's becoming impossible to ignore as constellation deployments accelerate, is the one that may define this decade of space activity. Are we approaching the critical density where Kessler Syndrome becomes self-sustaining? And what happens if we cross it without realizing? Now, before I show you what changes everything, I need you to do something. Pause the video right now. Do you think the space industry, through technology and regulation, can manage the growing debris problem and prevent Kessler Syndrome? Or do you think we are already past the point where a major cascade is just a matter of time? Drop a satellite in the comments if you think we can manage it. Drop a collision if you think the cascade is inevitable. Lock your answer in. I'll tell you which side the 2025 evidence is leaning toward, and I bet half of you are about to be very wrong. Because there are two competing theories on the future of low Earth orbit, and the difference between them determines whether humanity remains a spacefaring species in the long run or becomes accidentally trapped on its home planet. Theory A, the safe bet. The space industry can handle the debris problem. New active debris removal technologies are being developed. Satellite operators are increasingly required to deorbit their satellites at end of life. Tracking is improving. International regulations are slowly tightening. With careful management, Kessler Syndrome can be avoided. The crisis is real but manageable. Don't panic. Trust the engineers. It's the responsible answer. It assumes good behavior from many actors, and it depends on coordination that doesn't fully exist yet. Because the rate of satellite launches is increasing dramatically, the total number of objects in low Earth orbit is rising every year. Megaconstellations alone, like Starlink, plan to operate tens of thousands of satellites. Other constellations are following, and while many operators take debris mitigation seriously, others do not. And as long as some actors are sloppy, the debris environment continues to worsen. Theory B, the nightmare. We are approaching, and may have already crossed, the threshold where Kessler Syndrome becomes self-sustaining in certain critical orbital regions. The cascade may not happen all at once. It may unfold over decades. But the long-term trajectory is increasingly hard to reverse. Without aggressive action, we may slowly lose access to portions of low Earth orbit, with consequences that range from significant economic disruption to existential loss of certain orbital regions. If Theory B is correct, then the satellites you depend on every day are operating in an environment that is steadily becoming more dangerous. Every collision raises the risk for every other satellite. Every uncontrolled re-entry leaves debris behind, and every launch adds to the orbital traffic that is already nearing crisis levels. You might think you're safe in your daily routine, but here's the part that should rewire how you see every weather report, GPS map, or live international broadcast you use. In 2024, 2025, and 2026, the orbital debris problem has worsened significantly. The total number of active satellites has crossed unprecedented levels, driven primarily by megaconstellations. SpaceX's Starlink alone has launched over 6,000 satellites, with plans for many thousands more. Other constellations are in various stages of deployment. The International Space Station has had to perform avoidance maneuvers multiple times per year to dodge debris. Astronauts have had to shelter in their spacecraft during particularly close passes. A 2025 paper analyzing the current orbital environment concluded that certain altitudes, particularly between 800 and 1,000 kilometers, are already crowded enough that a single major collision could trigger localized Kessler-like cascades. The paper recommended urgent investment in active debris removal and tighter regulation of new constellations. Several space agencies, including NASA and ESA, have publicly endorsed similar concerns. A 2026 follow-up assessment went further. It estimated that without major changes in industry practices and international policy, the long-term cost of inaction could include partial loss of critical orbital regions within the next several decades. The economic value at stake is in the trillions of dollars. The strategic risk is incalculable. And the technological challenge of recovering from a cascade, once it begins, may exceed our current capabilities by orders of magnitude. Some efforts are underway. Companies in Japan, the UK, the US, and elsewhere are developing technologies to capture and deorbit debris. Some demonstration missions have been launched, but the pace of new launches still far exceeds the pace of cleanup. We are creating debris faster than we are removing it, and the gap is growing. Now zoom out, way out, past Earth, into orbit. Imagine looking down at our planet from a few hundred kilometers up. You see continents, oceans, weather systems. You also see, if you have the right instruments, an invisible cloud of objects circling Earth at multiple altitudes. Many of them are active satellites doing useful work. Many others are dead. Spent rocket stages, fragments from past collisions, tiny pieces of paint, bolts, debris, each one a potential bullet, each one traveling at speeds that would shatter steel. Humanity has spent the last 70 years putting things into that environment without fully thinking about how to remove them. We treated space like an infinite landfill. Now we are learning, the hard way, that the orbital environment is finite and fragile. The same physics that lets us put satellites up there also means that what we leave behind never quite goes away. Not in any timescale that matters for human civilization. And here's the existential weight of it. If we lose access to low Earth orbit, even partially, the consequences cascade through every system humanity depends on. GPS-dependent agriculture, finance, navigation, and logistics fail. Climate monitoring weakens. Communications fragment. Astronauts can no longer easily reach the International Space Station or any future stations. Crewed missions to the Moon and Mars become harder because they all have to pass through low Earth orbit. Humanity becomes, in a real sense, trapped under its own debris. That is the worst-case scenario. It is not certain. It is not even necessarily the most likely, but it is no longer dismissible. The decisions being made by governments and companies right now about how many satellites to launch, how to deorbit them, how to clean up existing debris, are decisions about whether humanity remains a spacefaring civilization in the long run. So here's the question I want you to sit with. Is it better to slow the pace of space development to protect the orbital environment, even at the cost of losing some economic opportunities, or to push forward with aggressive expansion and trust technology to clean up the consequences? Tell me below. I genuinely don't know which path keeps humanity in space for the long term. If you want to uncover more disturbing truths about our future, the ones space agencies whisper about but never put on the news, hit the subscription link in my bio to subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. You don't want to miss what's coming.